Hi, in this video, we're going to use what we know about proportions in order to solve for unknowns in percent problems. So there's something super important that we have to remember as we are going to be using it a lot. So I'll write it down on the right side of the page, and that is part over whole is always going to be equal to the percent part, so the percentage over the whole. So in percentage, the whole is 100. All right, so that is super important. That we'll be using over and over again. So I'll save that on that side of the page. All right, let's try an example in which we're going to need to use this. Okay, so I want to know what percent of 7 is 4. All right, so now you have to think, what is this question asking you for? What is the part? What is the whole? So what percent? So the question is asking what percent? So that's the thing that we don't know. We do not know the percent of 7. So you know it's the whole because it's of that number. So the 7 is the whole. And what percent of 7 is 4? So 4 is the part. All right, so now that we know all of that information, we can go ahead and use it to set up a proportion. So the part, as we discussed, is 4, and the whole is 7. We don't know the percent, so we can put X there, and the whole for the percent is always going to be 100. All right, so now we have a proportion, and hopefully you've watched the video on proportions, you're comfortable with proportions now, and you're able to solve this. But if not, I'll go over how to solve this using cross multiplication. So whenever you have two fractions that are equivalent to each other, we can do something called cross multiply them. So in this case, what we would do is multiply the bottom left by the top right, which is 7 times x. And we would get the same thing as if we multiply the top left by the bottom right, which is 4 times 100. So we can go ahead and simplify that a bit. And so we get 7x on the left side is equal to 400. Now we have one more step in order to isolate the x. So in order to isolate the x, we can go ahead and divide both sides by 7. And we get that x is equal to 400 over 7. And if you want, you can simplify that further or change it to a mixed number. And we get 57 and 1/7. And so the answer is 57 and 1/7%. All right, awesome. Let's try another one which asks for something else. Okay, so now we have a question that's asking for something different. It's given us different information. It's saying what number is 24% of 200? So we know the easiest part to figure out is the percent. This here is the percent, so let's mark that as our percent. All right, the next easiest thing to figure out is the whole here. Whatever they say of a number, that is the whole. So in this case, of 200, so they've given us the whole, and the whole is 200. And they want to know what number. What number is 24% of 200? So they did not give you the part, and that's what we're trying to find. All right, so we have three things always in these questions. There are three things that exist: the percent, the part, and the whole. And one of these things will be unknown. So in this case, again, the part is what's unknown. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill this into our proportion. So we don't know the part. So part over whole, the whole, as we discussed, is 200 is equal to 24 over, and for percent, the whole is always 100. Now we can go ahead and cross multiply. Now you are pros at the cross multiplication. On the left side, we get, let's actually put this on the left side. So on the left side, we have 100 times x. And on the right side, we have 200 times 24. And so when we multiply 100 times x, we get 100x. And when we multiply 24 by 200, we get 4,800. All right, one more step. In order to isolate the x, we go ahead and divide both sides by 100. And we get that x is equal to 48. So if we were to look back at what the question's asking us, it's saying what number is 24% of 200? 48 is 24% of 200. All right, and that's it.